Welcome back, folks, to the Mailwright Show. This is episode 161. We've got a guest, a returning guest. He was on the show in August, and that is Beatty Carmichael. Beatty, would you like to quickly introduce yourself again to the listeners and viewers?
I would love to. Thanks. So I work with a lot of agents and primarily in the field of helping them get more listings. We work with sphere of influence, past clients, and geographic farming.
That's great. And I've got my great co-host, Robert Newman, with me. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself, Robert?
I would. I'd love to. My name is Robert Newman. I'm the founder of Inbound Real Estate Marketing, or inboundrem.com is the website, and that's where I do most of my content, and I have a lot of it. So if you want to learn more about me or my company, go check it out.
That's great. And I'm the founder of Mailwright, which is a SaaS product that gets you quality leads with emphasis of using the power of Facebook to achieve that. Right, Beatty, we're having you back because it was a fantastic interview, but of your 5 points, we only covered 2.
That's right.
That's all my fault. So how would you like to restart the conversation and try and cover the 3 points that we didn't cover?
Sure. I think maybe just a real quick recap of the first 2 things for those who may be coming in late or it's been a while since they heard the first podcast, and then dive on into the last 3. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So all of this, by the way, is if you want more information, we'll have a website and a podcast called GetSellersCallingYou.net. But what we're talking about is the 5 steps to doubling your referrals from past clients and sphere of influence. And what we covered on the first call is really 2 things. Number 1 is how homeowners choose an agent. And they usually choose an agent by a concept of trust and top of mind. And the whole idea of getting more referrals and more sales is if you can increase your trust level, not the trust of you as an individual, but you as an expert in real estate. If you can increase that in their mind, and so their perception, and always be in front of them, which is top of mind, then you start to get more of those sales. The second thing we covered is how do you start to increase that trust? And we talked about the concept of outside perception versus inside reality. Outside perception is what the homeowner believes you to be as an agent. Inside reality is who you really are. And the challenge is most homeowners believe that all agents are the same, that they stick a sign in the yard, list the home in the MLS, and wait for someone else to bring a buyer. And as long as that's what they believe, then they have no reason to choose you over someone else. But most of the folks on this call, especially if they've been around for a while, they know that there are a lot of things that they do individually that adds an incremental level of value to their clients. And if those homeowners on their list understood that value proposition, more of them would refer and choose that agent. That's the inside reality. So we talked last time about what are some of the things that you can do to increase that inside reality. And so then, so that's the quick recap. And then today we'll cover the next 3 things, and they should go a lot faster.
That's great. So do you want to start off with number 3?
Yeah. So the third thing is top of mind. So if we go back to the main equation, trust multiplied by top of mind is what's going to give you approximately how many of the sales and referrals that your past clients and sphere of influence are generating will actually come to you. So the second step, the third thing in the equation is this whole concept of top of mind. And top of mind is how frequently you're positively in front of that prospect. And I laugh at this because after the podcast call, Jonathan, you and I and Robert were talking about what makes for a great touch. And I remember I was doing this call. It was with a large brokerage. They had like 250 agents. And I was the broker was in the meeting and a number of agents there. And I was asking the broker, I said, are all touches the same? And he said, yes. And I was kind of startled because all touches aren't the same. So here's what I like to propose. This is what I suggested to him. I said, so you're telling me that getting an email that says, it's summertime, hope you have a good summer, has the same level of value as if you as an agent walk up to my house and bring me some homemade chocolate chip cookies and say, I was just thinking about you and want to drop these off. See, touches are not all equal. Does that make sense? Are y'all following with me?
Yep.
Okay. So the most important thing when you do touches is you have to understand that what you're looking for is those touches that will add value to your clients, to your past clients, to your sphere of influence, and not just any touch. What usually happens in this day and age is most agents, they say, okay, I want to stay in front of someone, so I'm just going to go get an email campaign, and I'm going to send them automatic emails. And I have this client, a loan officer. I recently bought a house, and so I get these emails from him, and he's trying to do the touch system with me. And they are so stupid and such a nuisance. I actually created a folder on my computer called Stupid Email Campaigns. And every time I get one of his emails, I slide it over in that folder because, well, let me see if this makes sense. Robert and Jonathan, do y'all get a lot of emails every day or just a few?
Loads.
A lot, right? Okay.
More than I could count.
Yeah, more than you can count and more than any of us really want. And most of them are junk. So what happens is when you send an email like this loan officer does to me, and I get that email, if it doesn't add value to me, then it's not positive, it's neutral at best or negative at worst. And for him, they're negative, okay? So every time I get an email, I refuse to even open it because I'm so offended by it. Think about that when you're targeting your personal clients and your past clients and your sphere of influence and others. Are they going to be offended because it adds no value to their life? And if that's the case, you're actually potentially hurting yourself. What you want to do is look for those type of touches that will add value. And this is where we're talking after the podcast. A client of ours, he sends out 52 emails a year, every single week, to his database of about 350 or 500 folks. And what's interesting is when he misses a week, he gets emails from his clients saying, hey, Stuart, I didn't get the email. Would you send it? Okay. They love it so much that what this is showing is it adds value. And so what he's doing is real simple. He's taking what I call a human interest story. Okay. For example, one of the ones that I remember, it goes like this. It's written in the first person. And the person says, you know, I grew up in, my father was a merchant. We lived on top of the store. And as I was growing up, I loved mathematics. And then my father introduced me, suggested I go to a music studio and learn music. And so I did that, and I really enjoyed it. And when it came time to go to college, I didn't know whether I wanted to pursue mathematics or music. And he said, I went to my father, and my father gave me some wise advice. He said, son, you can only sit in one chair. In other words, don't be a jack of many, be a master of one. So he said, I chose music. And within 8 years, I was playing in Carnegie Hall. A few years after that, I was playing in front of the Queen of England. I was playing in front of the Pope. And he goes on, and you're reading the thing and going, my gosh, who is this? And it was signed Pavarotti. Okay, so what happens is these human type of interest stories, and that's just one concept. All the other things you can do that create value. But what happens is people are drawn into it because they like the story because it adds value. It's encouraging. And so when you focus on item number 3, to double sales and referrals, you have to focus on top of mind items that add value. So a drip email campaign that adds value is one thing you can do. But there are other things you can do too. One is going to be, you know, for if you're in a sports area, those magnets that go on the refrigerator that show off the sports schedule of the local teams. You put your name and face on it because now what happens is every day, multiple times a day, you're in front of the housewife, you're in front of the husband, or the wife and the husband, and you're in front of the kids. They see your name in the face all the time, and so you're constantly top of mind. There's another, you can do magazines. So I think there's something called, believe it or not, what is it? Have y'all heard of it? It's called like Guns and Flowers, or do you know the magazine I'm talking about? It's really a rage that I've heard from a lot of agents.
No, but it sounded like you're headed in the direction of Guns N' Roses, which is
almost said Guns N' Roses, but it's not Guns N' Roses. But it's really interesting because it has something for the guys, the guns.
That'd be an interesting magazine, wouldn't it?
It would be, and But there are all kinds of magazines that you can send out, maybe 6 magazines a year.
Yeah.
They're the coffee top magazines that you can, that you're branded on the front and the back. But these are the things you want to look at. What type of touches can you do that add value? Another type of touch is that personal touch of just making a list of, and systematically going through your list and dropping off a gift once or twice a year and just saying, I really enjoy our relationship and thanks for being such a great friend. So that's item number 3.
Okay, just give me a second though.
Yep.
That's item number 3. That's step number 3 or item number 3?
Okay, so step 3 in
your 5-step process, because I haven't had my coffee, so I'm still on, my brain is still on getting us back to where we stopped.
Okay, great. So first step is understanding that it's trust and top of mind. That drives everything.
That's step 1.
That's step 1. Step 2 is how do you build trust? That's what we talked about last week or a couple of weeks ago on inside reality versus outside perception.
Gotcha.
The third step is how do you build top of mind? And this is all of these things that we're talking about right now.
Okay.
That add value, but they're typically low cost. All it is that value touch.
Gotcha. So that's step 3, and then we have step 4 and step 5, right?
Yep. That's right. So step 4 is, if you think about this, when you look at those people, if you were to make a list, let's say, of the people that you're touching, your past clients, your sphere of influence, other people that you've met, somewhere within that list, there are people that are going on the market every year. Okay, on average, there's about a 5% turnover rate, plus or minus, in the United States. So if you have a list of 200 people, that means that probably 10 of them are actually going to sell their home this year. Think for a moment if you could wave a magic wand over that list and identify which of those 10 they were. If you knew who was thinking about selling before any other agent knew, then it would ensure that you got that sale before they went to someone else. Okay, make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The question then is, how do you do that? Now, in email marketing, we find it all the time. You send out an email with an offer, they click on the offer, they come back to a website, and you track who clicks. Okay, it's called a click-through rate. How do you do the same thing with your personal client list? Well, number one, if you are sending out emails, you can send out an offer that only someone who's thinking about selling would be interested in, that someone who's not thinking about selling would not be interested in. This is where you'll find most agents gravitate toward the what's your home worth. But what's your home worth concept has pluses and minuses. So let me ask you guys, are either one of you thinking about selling your home in the next 12 months?
No.
No, okay. So if I came up to your door and I said, hey, I'm in the neighborhood and I'm telling people exactly what their home is worth, would you like to know what your home is worth? Would you want to know what your home is worth?
No.
No? Okay, I would. It's my most valuable asset, or second most valuable. So what happens though is if you're simply asking, do you want to know what your home is worth? You'll get some people that say no, but you'll get a lot of people that say yes. The challenge is just because they say yes doesn't mean they're most likely thinking about selling, because they're just curious. And so what you do is, if you want to identify who's thinking about selling, you have to narrow your offer down more specifically so that it only appeals to the person who's actually thinking about selling.
Sure.
And what we've started to do in this realm is we started testing different messages. And here's the basic message that starts to work. Okay? If you're thinking about selling your home in the next 12 months, then ... whatever your offer is. So in this case, it might be if you're thinking about selling your home in the next 6 to 12 months, your first step is to figure out how much you could probably get for your home so you know how much money you have for the next house. I made it real easy. Click the link below to go to my website to find out exactly, or find out approximately what your home could be selling for right now. Okay? So you can do that with an email campaign. You can do that with a postcard. So a lot of times you're sending out postcards as part of your touches as well. And so you can send them either to a trackable website. What we do is we actually use a link very similar to a link in an email. So when they go to that website that we put on the postcard, it pinpoints specifically which address they're responding from. So now we know exactly which homeowner is responding. But even if you don't have a technology like that, you can use something like a call capture number. If you're thinking about selling your home, you want to find out exactly what it's worth, call this number right now. So they pick up the phone, they call a call capture number, toll-free number, and it captures the caller ID. The key with all of these processes is you have to have a way to identify the person who responds. But here's something interesting. When I ask our clients, what is it that homeowners want to know before they sell? They say, there's only one thing. How much can I get for my home? Well, we've tested that, and that's not the only thing. In fact, that's actually item number 2. There's one more item, more responsive, far more responsive than we found from that offer. And it's the simple offer of the curiosity of being able to get the home sold immediately. And it comes out in different venues, but the simple way to understand this approach is what I call the I have a client approach. And let me give you the backstory on this. One of my friends here in town was telling me the story of a buyer client he had that wanted to buy on this particular street. And for about a year or so, he couldn't find a home, and there weren't many homes coming on the market. So my friend Rob, the real estate agent, said, well, let me see if I can help. So he wrote up a letter and said, dear homeowner, my name is Rob. I'm a real estate agent. I have a client who's wanting to buy on this street, and he hasn't been able to find the right home. If you're thinking about selling this year, would you please contact me, and let's see if your home is a fit. Okay, so he puts it out on all these homes. He picks up a listing or two right off the bat just from that. They may not have been the right match for his client, but it got him a listing. And so we started to take this concept, I call the I have a client, and we started to modify it. And this is what you can do on your own as well. The whole idea behind this is that homeowner having the expectation that they can sell their home immediately. So here's 2 ways that you can set this up for your past clients list, past clients sphere of influence, or even just a generic list. One is your buyer database. Most agents have a database of active buyers, okay? So maybe that database is 153 active buyers that you have. So now you can go to your list of people, and let's say you group them by suburban area, okay? Vestavia, Homewood, Mountain Brook, those are the suburban areas in my area, or even more narrow. And then you can send those clients a personal letter or postcard, or even just an email that says, hey John, I've got 153 active buyers on my list who cannot find the right home right now. And I was wondering if you're thinking about selling your home in the next 6 to 12 months, because if you are, I might be able to get it sold immediately, even before you put it on the market at whatever point you want. Can you contact me and let me know? Okay, so now all this is doing is it's just shaking the bushes to see who's going to respond. You can do the same thing in a postcard. You can do it in an email. You can do it in a text message. But now you can take that list of people you know and start to identify who is thinking about selling. Those who respond, then you start to follow up, and you're assured at that point of more than likely getting the deal, because now you can engage relationally with them. So
Sure.
those are 2 ways to identify sellers. Let me share one last thing that we found. So in our testing, we've done about 21 split A/B marketing tests, trying to identify what makes this work. And we found one other thing that causes a homeowner who's thinking about selling to respond. And that is what I'll call the free report. Okay, so let me see if this makes sense. I'm thinking about selling. I plan to sell for probably 3 to 6 months. I'm starting to fix up the home. We're looking at other homes. But it's not until I actually ready to put the home on the market that I call the agent. Okay, but in this time, we call it in the marketing world, we call this the educational spectrum, where they're educating themselves. During this period of time, if I offer information to this homeowner that the homeowner is interested in, I can get that homeowner to respond. So for example, here's a simple headline concept. If you're thinking about selling your home, here are 4 secrets that practically guarantee buyers will pay up to $27,000 more for your home. And then the body copy would explain a little. It's a free report. It takes 5 minutes to read, and it'll get you more money above the current value of your home right now. Visit my website, click on this link, call this toll-free number, whatever your call to action is. And so now when you come up with those type of things, again, only the person thinking about selling will respond. Those people who are not thinking about selling will typically ignore. So this allows you to start to identify sellers within that list. And then your follow-up is real easy. You pick up the phone. Hey, John, this is Beatty. Hey, Beatty. Hey, I see that you requested my free report. Are you guys thinking about selling anytime soon? Okay. Hey, they're your friend. You can be right up front, and now you're engaging in a conversation. So that's number 4 step on how to increase double sales and referrals from past clients.
Hey, John, should we cut to break?
Yeah, sounds a good space. We're going for a break, and then Beatty's going to tell us step 5. Back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. It's been a magical discussion again. Beatty's on form again. So, Beatty, we covered from 1 to 4, we're on to step 5. Would you like to go into that?
I would. And by the way, this whole concept of seller leads, before I forget, if you want more information on my website, you can't buy anything on my website, getsellerscallingyou.net, but there's a search bar, and if you went to getsellerscallingyou.net and type in the search bar seller leads, then it'll give you all the different trainings that we have out there on things that you can do, things that we have learned, and things that will increase your overall conversion rate. So the 5th thing in doubling sales and referrals is, especially from your personal list, okay, is you have to stay personal. And so this is where additional personal touches come in, whether it's a handwritten note or a personal phone call or dropping off a gift, okay? Anyone who has referred you business at any time, you need to be at least once, if not twice a year, dropping off some cookies or just something that keeps that relationship warm and alive, okay? In between there, a quick phone call, and it's not a self-serving phone call. Hey, this is Beatty. How are you doing? Hey, are you thinking about selling? Do you know anyone who is? You know, stay away from that stuff. What you want to do is simply be a friend. Hey, you know, I know you're interested in flowers. I was just going through this magazine, and I wanted to send you this clipping on how to do flower arranging because I think you'd really enjoy it. Do something that's personal, that just adds value to them, that keeps you in front of them. A handwritten note, and it's one of those things that I recommend at least twice a year, if not 3 or 4 times a year, just a phone call, a handwritten note. So now you have all of these things combined, okay, in this great big cauldron, okay? I've got the marketing that I do that educates them why they should choose me, my inside reality. I'm doing a number of things that are just keeping me always in front of them, top of mind. I am using good marketing to identify those people thinking about selling before they come on the market. And then I'm doing personal touches. And when you put it all together, you'll find that your sales and referrals will start to double and triple to as many as at least 17 sales a year from every 100 of your personal contacts that you're focused on, because that statistically is what's out there. So that's the 5 steps on how to do it.
That's amazing. Got any comments, Robert?
I do. So one of the things I wanted to comment, because and John, you'll love this because you've done a deep dive into how to work a list. And I really appreciate that, Beatty. I just want to add for a lot of our clients that part of doing this in general is, number one, you have to develop an email marketing list. And then you have to segment your list, because I noticed in your comments, Beatty, that you had a number, like you were basically referencing segments of a marketplace. In other words, there is a difference between somebody you've shaken hands with and done some business with, or driven around in your car for 3 hours showing homes, but they didn't buy from you, versus a Facebook lead that just barely even saw one of your landing pages and input their name. So you should have 2 separate parts of your email marketing list. One that are people that you really know, that you've actually contacted and at least spoken to. And then another one where it's just all the people that have been caught in your marketing net through all your various methods that at some point or another sent you an email list. I feel like your strategy that you're outlining here is going to be really, really effective for bucket number 2, the people that you know, that you've contacted and that you have a relationship with, versus people number 1. Not to say that they can't be valuable too, but I would say that targeting your efforts would be very helpful.
You're very correct. So if you were to take that segmented list, I would segment it in the following 3. You have 2 segments of the people that you've met. And when we talk about someone that you've met, it's if they were to see you on the street, they would call you by name. Hey, Beatty. Hey, Joe. How are you? How are the kids? Okay, that type. So when you have that group of people, I would then group them into 2 groups, those who are past clients and have referred you or very close to you. The second group would be those that don't fit in this group. And then you have that third group you're talking about that is maybe they've seen you on Facebook, but they don't really know you. While the concepts work across the board, because this is all these are the process of how does someone make a decision. The real focus and the effort is more profitable when you focus it on those people who already trust you. And here's one other study. I've actually seen this in 3 different data points, and they all point in the same direction. And we talked about this after the call last time. And that is someone who has met you is 8 to 10 times more likely to do business with you than someone who has never met you. And so that's where you want to focus your effort in this realm of past clients and sphere of influence, is to focus in that group because of the high likelihood of repeat business and referred business.
That's great. We're going to wrap it up for the podcast. It's quite amazing. A half hour goes quick, but hopefully, Beatty, you'll be able to stay on for 10, 12 minutes and we continue the discussion, which you'll be able to watch on the MailRight website with a full set of show notes and on the MailRight YouTube channel. Beatty, how can people... Oh, he's gone. He's disappeared. Oh, he's back again. Betty, you scared me there. Betty, how can people find out more about you and where you come and information about you?
Best way to find out more about me is our website, getsellerscallingyou.net. By the way, when you go there, you'll land on a page where you can actually request a free training that we do. It's a training series on how to double sales and referrals from your past clients and sphere of influence. And if you spend time on that website, you'll also see a lot of information about geographic farming and other stuff. So that's really it. We do have a service. You can find us at agentdominator.net if you'd like to see what we actually provide on a paid service and guarantee your sales.
You scared me there, Beatty. I thought you'd done a runner.
That would be funny.
Robert, how can people find out more about you?
They can go to inboundrem.com. And guys, from my audiences, as we were discussing privately before we started this show, I have all of my information, case studies, videos on how to, they're all online. You don't really need to speak to me. You can set an appointment if you want through my calendar, but if you just have questions about real estate marketing, or if you're curious to know what we do, please just go to my website, look at my portfolio. My case studies are incredibly detailed. I've just spent the entire last 3 days building up the detail on them that talks about price, results, and I do a video that does a really, really deep dive. So if anybody's curious, they can go there, or they can check out my blog and they'll get all sorts of great content on how to do real estate marketing in general.
Yep. And if you're looking to help the show, you found these interviews and our internal discussions useful, give us some feedback. I just love feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. You can do that through iTunes. You can email me on the Facebook page. It's quick. It's really easy to give feedback to the show. And I love to know some subjects you'd like us to cover in the coming months. That would be great. We're going to end the show now, but like I say, Beatty hopefully is going to stay on and we continue the discussion for a little while. And we'll see you next week where we'll be covering a subject that will hopefully open your eyes and make you a more effective real estate agent. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. Right, Beatty, thanks for that. So it really went quick. So a bit like before we went live, you said you started in the industry. I think you said 2012. I think you
Right.
said.
In real estate, I did.
Yeah. What have you learned over the few years that surprised you about the industry?
About the industry, I think the things that kind of surprised me is, real estate is a sales business, but most realtors don't realize it. Most realtors believe that, and this is very much a generalization, a lot of realtors come in to the real estate business because they love people and they love homes, and they think it's easy to sell a home. But what they don't realize is you're in hunter sales. You got to hunt and get the next sale. And if you're not aggressive in doing that, then you have, as a saying, timid salespeople have thin kids. Okay, you just don't get a whole lot on your plate. And one of the things that has been really surprising to me is how few realtors have any sort of a marketing fund. They don't do anything strategic in marketing. They just think it's going to come to them, but they don't really plan for it. And those that I see that really grow fast, in every single case, they treat their business as a business. They put money aside for marketing, advertising, and everything else to drive in leads, because without leads, they don't have a business. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree with you there. I think but to be fair, I'm not that surprised because I think a lot of people have, like the two things you pointed out, they're people. They like homes. They concentrate on passing the local exam, real estate exam, and then they find a broker, because in most areas you to operate, you've got to be part of a brokership, and the broker doesn't really do, which is a bit sweeping and in some ways is changing, don't do a great job about explaining the realities about you got a market and you got to fill that funnel. Would you agree with that?
I would. There's you have kind of two mindsets in the brokers. One mindset is, I'm only going to bring on board tenured agents who don't need hand-holding, and I'm going to make a small margin off of lots of volume. The majority of the brokers, though, they look toward the new agents who come in and come out. They know if they come in, they're going to pick up a few sales from their family and friends and maybe more, but they make a larger margin on those, and that's where their profit is. So there's a drive to recruit new agents, to get them through the training, and to keep those margins. And I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's a different business model. In that business model, there really needs to be, and some companies do a great job of really focus on training your agents and getting them up to speed and hand-holding them and helping them be successful. But I think most agents just don't really understand what it takes to be successful when they come into this business.
I want to dovetail a second because I agree with everything that everybody just said, but I also want to add an additional thought. So a lot of the people I think that are going to be reviewing podcasts and taking their time to listen to three guys like us are probably going to be people on the newer agent spectrum side, as opposed to the brokers that have 20 years experience. Because frankly, in my experience, those 20-year guys, they don't have a lot of time to listen to podcasts. Not to say that they won't, it's just unlikely. Their assistants might, their office staff might, but them, not so much. So for that younger audience out there, or not younger necessarily, but the people with who are newer into real estate, I'm going to make a suggestion to you. Everything that Beatty's been talking about is a great way to take ownership of your customers. So the way that real estate oftentimes works is either through your personal marketing, like your friends and family, like Beatty just touched on, or the fact that you have to spend countless hours waiting on a showroom floor is what I'm going to call it. You have to go into the office basically on commission and sit around like a car salesperson and wait for somebody to walk through the door. And when they finally walk through the door, that is your lead if you happen to be the person that is on the up side of the rotation. When you've gone through so many hundreds or thousands of hours to develop personal connections, personal contacts, it is ridiculous to me as a marketer that you don't take that small extra step and then own the contact. And how do you own the contact? Everything that Beatty's talking about today. That's how you own the contact. You create a personalized marketing structure or system, such as emails and things like that, that separate you from everybody else, so that once you've shaken that hand, even if you don't do any business that particular day, you then own the relationship with the client. And honestly, you can be in real estate a long time before you have even 1,000 of these people on that list of people that you've met in person, made an impression with. So my opinion, it's just my opinion, is that we should take this topic, everything that we're talking about, very seriously. The segmenting of a list, the ownership of a lead. Why in the world would you not spend an extra 10 or 15 hours like talking to a guy like Beatty, listening to a podcast like this, figuring out a strategy? What happens when you shake a hand, you don't get the deal, but you did get a percentage of the relationship? Because you can turn the 20% that you got into 100% and get the next transaction and the next transaction and the transaction after that.
And the other thing that people do, I totally agree with you, Robert, but I just want to see what you think and bet you think. The other thing is, a lot of people says, I have no homes to sell. It's a chicken and egg situation. And in some ways they're right, but a lot of potential buyers, they don't know that you're not the actual signed up agent. So you can advertise other people's properties and then bring that potential buyer to that agent and negotiate maybe some revenue for bringing that agent, that potential buyer. Or you like what we have covered over quite a few weeks, doing some advertising or doing videos that attract sellers to you. And in some ways, because of the internet, doing these things have become a lot more easier. Would you agree with that, BT?
I would. I think if we look at a brand new agent and kind of springboarding from both of your comments, that brand new agent, if you think about this, an average person knows between 200 and 300 people. If we were to limit that to 200 people, and statistically what we know from a study that we talked about in our first call is that if you're touching your list well, then the average agent in a study, after they cross a threshold, that average agent was getting 17 sales a year from every 100 people. If you know 200 people and you're touching that list well, then that means that's 34 sales a year potential. If you look at that average new agent who's only doing 6 or 8 sales a year, the increase is huge simply by what Robert's talking about. Carve out those people that you know and trust you and really nurture that relationship. But then there's one other thing you can do as a new agent and you don't have any homes to sell. Go find agents in your office who have listings and ask if you can do open houses in those listings. And go knock on the doors, introduce yourself. We got an open house, later today at 2 o'clock. Can you come? And what you're really doing when you're knocking on doors is you're looking for those people who will come visit the open house. Because I'll tell you about my wife and I, we're not about to waste our time going to an open house unless we're thinking about selling ours. So those people that you get from the neighborhood are likely thinking about selling. And so simply by manning the open houses, you can pick up listings that way and jumpstart your business even more.
Oh, it's just fantastic, because I just do not understand. And also, if you're a bit more established, you should get some buyer junior agents to work with you and still do open houses, but not run them yourself, obviously, be under your supervision. Because it's just a great way of building your database in that third area. Like, I agree with you, but you should split your list into 3 parts. But it's just a great way of increasing your database into that part 3 of your list, segmentation. So even if you're a more established agent, you should keep running open houses. Like I say, not do them yourself. Get a buyer, junior agent, somebody newer to do those, and treat them really fairly. And that's why if you're a newer agent and you're that buyer agent, a more experienced agent has an arrangement with you, that's why you should agree to that arrangement, because what just Beatty has just said. What do you reckon, Robert?
I agree. And guys, I'm going to make a strange request here. John, I'm going to ask if we can wrap the show up. I have something that I need to cover with you, not in the recorded version of the show. Yeah. And I'm on a time clock today.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So we're going to close the show down now, folks. Beatty, how can people find out about you?
Go either to our website, getsellerscallingyou.net, or if you want more of this type of content, we also have a podcast, Get Sellers Calling You, and you just search for it online.
That's great. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Thank you.
And,